Hi friends, today I'm here to talk about all things chipboard organization. So you can see I've got a ton of chipboard, and for the past few years, well, 4 years at least, I have been storing my chipboard in the backers that they come in. These ones right here are my stories by the month, and these are my story kit chipboards. I also have a collection of chipboard here from other brands and other collections from Ali Edwards. The majority of my chipboard is from Ali Edwards. I also have some Studio Calico and a few other ones here and there. My chipboard, I have loved keeping them in the backers because I organize them by kit this way. So these, my stories by the month ones, are labeled. So each one, so for example, here are my April ones. I've got April 2018, April 2019, April 2020, and April 2021. April 2022 is still with the kit because I have not yet used that kit. But you can see that some of these have a lot of the pieces used, and some of them have very few pieces used. So I have a whole collection here, and I do have a lot of wasted space by having, you know, something like this where there are only 2 chipboard pieces left on that entire backer. When you get to the story kits, I have them labeled by the number of the story kit, the name, the month, and the year, and they are in reverse chronological order. So the most recent one here on top is the Care Story Kit, which is from September 2021. Now it is in fact now April 2022, and the reason why the newer ones are not here is because those ones are still with their kits because I'm still working on creating stories from those kits. I only move my chipboard into my stash once I have felt like I have created enough pages from that kit using it as a kit. And generally that is 3 projects plus a project life spread. And I will share more about my story kit process in another video. But for now, these are the ones that I have moved into my stash. So sometimes I don't use very much of them because I was using other products from the kit to tell those stories. And sometimes I use a lot of them and there's only a few pieces left. And there's just a whole mix in here. However, I'm realizing that I need to come up with a new storage system for my chipboard. As much as I have loved this system, I'm outgrowing it. I have all of these story kit ones, these stories by the month, and all of these, and it's outgrowing these 2 containers right here. And to me, that's saying I'm not using my chipboard. Chipboard is one of my most loved embellishments, and I do scrapbook a lot. So the fact that I'm not going back and using a lot of these, especially the story kit ones, is kind of a sign to me that this system isn't working. Secondly, Ali has most recently changed her manufacturer for the chipboard, and they are now thinner and don't have adhesive on them, which is a different change, and I don't dislike it. The only problem is that they don't stay in the backers anymore. They're just falling right out. And so that means that if I'm wanting to store them in the backers, I need to put them in a plastic sleeve or something. Otherwise, they're going to just fall out of the packaging and make a huge mess. So that's just not going to be workable for this system. So what a lot of people have been doing is punching them all out and organizing them in dividers. I pulled out these 3 dividers from my stash, and these are, I think they're for like beads or thread or different types of things, not technically for scrapbooking, but they sell them at Michael's and Joann's and stuff. And I had purchased a lot of these in the past because I used to keep my loose embellishments in these, but I no longer do. And I will share another video at a later date that explains my organization system for loose embellishments. And by loose embellishments, I mean like wood veneer pieces, metal pieces, rubber pieces, any of those little things that you just kind of have loose that don't come on like a set like this. So I had a bunch of extra of these. What I did is I removed the lid, and these 3 right here do fit perfectly in the Alex drawers that I have right under my desk here. So my plan is to organize my chipboard into these trays and put that in my Alex desk in one of the drawers. A lot of people have been organizing by shape or by color. For me, I do a lot by sentiment, and that's just how I scrapbook. So what I'm planning on doing is creating sections for different themes that I feel like I'm gonna use a lot, and then the remainder of the ones that are more generic will go by color or shape. These ones are much smaller over here, so I'm going to have to keep that in mind. I do have a couple large sections here, and some of the chipboard pieces are going to be too large for this, so that's also going to be something that I need to keep in mind when I'm organizing. So what I'm going to do is kind of put you on fast forward, work through the system. I'm not going to film the entire process of organizing the chipboard because I need to kind of figure out how it's going to go, and I feel like this is going to be a very long process, and that's going to not be an interesting video, but I will share some of it with you, and then I will also show you at the end how it all comes together. So hopefully that you're going to enjoy this process and get some tips for how you could potentially organize your chipboard.
Okay, so what I decided to do was lay out some sticky notes and identify the categories that I wanted to use on these sticky notes rather than putting them in the trays to begin with. This way I could write out what the category was so I wouldn't forget as I was working on it, but it wasn't set in stone in case I decided to change my categories because I wasn't ready to actually label the different sections because I didn't know really what categories I was going to use or how many pieces were going to fit into each category. So you can see I started out doing the 4 seasons and some specific themes that I knew I wanted to have, and also the colors. So I know that I can't do as specific of categories that I do for my stamp organization. If you've already watched my stamp organization video, you will see in there that I have a lot of different categories because I break out my stamps for my organization in very specific themes so that when I'm working on a page, I know exactly what I have that works with that theme because I really am a theme-based scrapbooker. But with the stamp organization, they're in binders and I can add just as many pages as I want. For the chipboard, there is a limit to the space I have. If I wanted to have more categories than I'm going to use here, I would have to devote an entirely second drawer to chipboard, and that's just way too much. So what I decided to do was, in addition to my theme-based categories, I created some color-based categories. And the color-based ones are ones that have very generic sentiments on them or no sentiments at all. So they are things like good day, this story, love this, those types of things that you could really use on pretty much any page. The theme-based ones I'm saving for very specific stories, such as, I have one for growth for the garden. I have a gratitude one, that type of thing. So now I decided I have a few of the categories that I know I'm set with, and I'm starting to put them into the tray. And what I did was I just typed up the labels for what each category is going to be, and I'm putting some clear tape over them just to adhere them to the tray. I use this technique a lot to adhere labels onto things. I do it on my stamps. I do it for my story kit organization. It's a great way to add a label onto something that's cheap and easy and lasts, but you can also always peel it off later if you want to do a different label in the future.
Okay, I'm gonna check in here on my progress so far. So what I've started doing was deciding the specific categories that I want to use and the ones that I know I'm keeping. And I created labels for them that you can see here. Hopefully you can see that on the video, but I will show you close up later with the camera off of the overhead mount. But basically these are going to live in my drawers. And what I did was I created some specific categories, and these are similar to kind of what I did for my stamp organization, but these are less specific because I can't have as many categories here as I do for my stamp organization. That's just not feasible. I would need so many trays, and I just don't want that many. So what I've gone with so far is I have outdoors, me, lists, growth, relax/care, which I'm also including like home related ones, tough, bad day, hard stuff goes in there, laugh, fun, gratitude, crafts, and I'm doing also like writing is going to go in there as well. Cleaning and organizing, family, friends, food and drink, party, going out. I'm also including like surprise and that kind of stuff in there. School, read, and anything like to do with like conversations. Listen and watch. So music, movies, that kind of stuff is going to go in here. And then over on this one, what I did was I did the colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, neutral. And so for those, it's going to be any chipboard that are those colors that either don't have text or the text is not very specific. So something like this one says this story. So for a chipboard like this, I don't need this to fit a specific story or anything. This is probably going to be, I'm going to be able to use this on pretty much any page. So I'm going to pick it more for the fact that it's orange. Whereas over here, I have one, this one says quoted, oh, these words. If I put this in the pink one, I'm not going to be able to really use it that often based on the fact that it's pink because it's such a specific theme. So that's kind of how I've broken it down. And then over here, I also have fall, summer, spring, and winter. And I decided to do that instead of one for every month because the months would just take up too much. Plus I have some like this one, summer love, summer bucket list, that I want them to be for like the entire summer rather than a specific month. And this is how I've broken down my journaling cards also, which I will share in a future video. And it works very well for me. I have colorful here for more like rainbow ones that again are very generic or have no words. And then I have quotes, ampersands or and, stars, hearts, and photos/cameras. So that's kind of the categories I have. I have 2 left here, so I'm trying to figure out which ones I want to include in those. I'm thinking like an AM, PM for one, and maybe like a stuff and things, but I'm not sure yet because I also might want to do like a review / special time of year. So kind of how I have it so far are those are my main categories. Then I have these large trays here. I have 4 of these. And what I've decided to do for these are the ones that I have just a lot of, too many to fit in one of those. So this is going to be vacation. I don't have that many in here yet, but I have a lot more that I haven't punched out. So I think this one's going to be more full. This one is encouragement, strength, inspiration, one little word, change, that kind of stuff, like personal growth type things. And I'm actually considering maybe getting rid of the me category and moving those into here because then I'd give me an extra one over here. So I'm not sure yet. This is love and romance or like us and that kind of thing. So I know I have a lot of those. And then I think this final one is going to be very specific themes that don't fit any of my categories. So those will be the ones that are hardest for me to use. But having them in there, like for example, this one says hero. That doesn't fit any of my categories. I don't want to put it in my neutrals because I'm never going to be able to use it when I'm looking for a neutral chipboard. So I'm thinking that that might need a specific category. Finally, I have this tray here. So this tray has very small compartments, but a lot of them. And it also has these 2 larger ones. So this one is perfect for these longer ones, which unfortunately I can't organize by theme because I don't have a bunch of containers that are that size. But for now, that's how I'm going to do it. And then this one I think would be for any larger ones. But so far I haven't actually encountered any that are super large. So I'm not entirely sure yet what I'm going to do with that. But then all of these other ones, so far what I'm doing is putting ones that go together. So for example, in here, I have this numbered set. It's a 1, 2, and 3. And these ones I want to use together. I want to make sure to use all of them and they just get their own compartment. And this tray has so many compartments that might really work. And my thought is that if I don't, like I still have quite a few left. I have still more chipboard to get through. But if I don't have enough spots for all of those, I might end up putting some kind of in like a backstock situation. And then this one right here, these were very small little circles, but these are all ones that pair with each other and they're all very small. So it seems silly to put them like in their own compartment, but here's like yes and no, they go together. So if I'm going to dig something out of here, I'm going to know that there's 2 in here that go together and just dig through it to find the matching one. So that's kind of where I am so far. I'm still going to continue working through the chipboard. What I've done is I have quite a few here still to punch out. I've kind of punched through some of the ones that were like very obvious from the story kit ones. And then some of these, like these ampersand ones, were from that time period when Allie had them where they weren't punched through all the way. So I haven't punched those out yet because I have my X-Acto knife and I need to kind of trace them, which takes some time. I also have some that just don't really fit any category, so I haven't exactly figured out what to do with those yet. If I'm going to just put them all in here loosely, if I might leave some in the backers, I'm not entirely sure yet. But I just wanted to check in with you and tell you kind of where I am and continue along with this process. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you on fast forward again and continue punching more out so you can see how this comes together.
I just wanted to point out, for some reason, I accidentally zoomed out on that last portion of the video. I honestly have no idea how I did that. If anyone has an Apple Watch to film stuff, if you know how I did that, that would be really great so I could do it intentionally in the future. So back to my video here, I am just cutting out some of the chipboard pieces that have the backer that's not punched through. You can see I'm using my X-Acto knife just to trace around them and put them in the various categories. This is kind of a tedious process. Doing this chipboard organization did take me a couple of afternoons, and I did not film the entire process for you, but I just wanted you to kind of get an idea of how this worked and how I am sorting through these different pieces and putting them in the trays. So you can see that I did do a couple shape-based categories. I have the stars, hearts, ampersands, quotes, and cameras. And I decided to do those primarily because sometimes I will want just like a little star or a little heart on my page. However, these are just for the ones that have generic sentiments or no sentiment at all. So for example, there was a chipboard piece that says currently watching, and it is in the shape of a star. I put that in my watch category, not the stars. So the stars are really just those generic stars that don't have any patterns on them at all, in case you are trying to figure out how to do your own categories. So that category right there that has the neutrals was just overflowing, and I realized it wasn't going to fit in that section. So I moved it over to this larger section on the other tray over there. It probably could have stood to be in one of those larger trays, like the 4 I have at the bottom, but I do only have 5 trays like that, and I end up using all 5 of them. At this point in time, I haven't yet created a catch-all category, but I will end up doing that. And so I'm going to have 5 trays that are separate from these organizers for the categories that just have a lot of chipboard pieces in them. And I'm hoping that that will kind of push me to use more of the chipboard from those categories, especially the personal growth encouragement category. I do like to scrapbook a lot of reflective type pages, and I have just so much chipboard that works for that, and I forget about it. So I'm hoping that this is going to push me to use my chipboard a little bit more, because while I do like having a stash of products to pull from, I want to make sure to keep it to a manageable size so that it is not ever overwhelming me. And that's really always my goal with my organization, to have my products accessible and not overwhelming. So I'm just continuing on here, punching out all of these chipboard. You can see I'm working through some Studio Calico chipboard pieces now. The majority of the chipboard in my stash is from Ali Edwards. I do have some from Studio Calico. I have a few from some other brands, just not as many. And then what you don't see in this video is I did have some older chipboard that had been punched out of the backers for various reasons, just all over my room. And so I was able to bring it all together and put it into this organization system. Okay, guys, you ready for the big reveal? Here is my chipboard drawer. So first I want to show you, this is what I have left up here that I did not organize. These stars I didn't put in because they're all glittery, and I feel like that will make a mess. There are a few of these things that are just like on a clear backer like this, and so it's not intended to punch out. And that's I'm fine with. And then I have a few here that I need to still cut out. For example, all these ampersands. These are the kind that weren't punched out very clearly, and they're kind of going to be time consuming to cut all of those out with an X-Acto knife. So I'm just going to leave them for now, and that'll be an activity I work on while watching TV one day. So here we go. I'm going to show you what I have so far. So I have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink. Just a note, we need more purple chipboard here. There's really none. This was that last empty category, and I just put the numbers in there. I think that's
going to probably change, but I'm going to just live with it for a while and see how I'm liking it before I really commit anything for that spot. Fall, summer, spring, and winter. Then here's my colorful ones. I have quotations and stars, hearts. These are cameras or photo related. And then I have outdoor, and weather is in there as well. Me, lists. So these are ones that could be like the top of a list. So a lot of them are things like top 5, for example. This is growth, AM, PM, remember / past, relax / care and home, tough, bad day, laugh, fun, play, gratitude, craft / write and work, clean, organize, errands, family, friends, stuff, party, going out, and celebrate, although I didn't write that on there, school, and reading, and listen and watching. Then what I have here are these larger trays for the categories that I have a lot of. So I've got food and drinks, travel, transportation. This is my other catch-all category. This one right here is love, relationships, and this one is encouragement, one little word, inspirational type things. So I'm going to take these out, which unfortunately these are going to have to store on top of there, but I think that that's okay, because what you'll see here is underneath here, this tray, are things I'm not going to reach for quite as frequently. So I do have the neutral category here, which I will keep that in mind. And these are some that are not by category, but they're just based on shape because it's so large they won't fit in the other containers. And then the rest of these are matched sets. So I have some sets of numbers, some that pair together. Some of them, are just like loving, struggling, just different things like that I can use as story prompts. And all of those are filled right now. Ideally, I will use some of those up before I acquire any more. This one as well right here is very full. So I know I need to try to use some of that. A lot of that is because I did get the one little word mini kits last year, and I think the year before, and there's just a lot of chipboard that you get with that, and it's way more than I use. I found that in my one little word albums in the past, I just don't put that much embellishment, and so I just had a lot of extra product. But this is kind of showing me what categories I have a lot of. It's making me inspired to create stuff with my chipboard. So I'm hopeful that this will push me to use it a bit more, because I don't want a larger stash than this. This is really a lot. I do have a couple categories here that are close to overflowing, and I'm going to make it a point to try to use some of those. And I think that this will really try to keep me more manageable, because I see that this pink one's getting full, so that's going to push me to use some of that, because I know I'm going to need to make space for new chipboard to move in. So that is my chipboard drawer and how I've organized it. As you can see, this is my main workspace, which is still messy because of the everything I was working on right now, but that's where I'm typically scrapbooking. And so I'm going to be able to just pull this open as I craft. So hopefully this gave you some ideas for some different ways to organize your chipboard, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.